Welcome to the Sales Podcast, session 53. Are you ready for the Mulready? Welcome to the 53rd edition of the Sales Whisperer Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. And today we've got Rick Mulready, who is a social media expert. He interviews big brands like WestJet. To look behind the scenes, pull back the curtain and see how are these big companies leveraging social media so the little guys like us can do the same thing to maybe achieve some viral videos and have some great success with social media, which can be quite elusive. So in honor of Rick and our social media topic today, the joke for today is really from a picture that I saw. It said, in case of fire, and it's got a little image, a burning building and people walking down the stairs. The guy's got something in his hands, but it says, in case of fire, exit building before tweeting about it. And you know what? Truth is stranger than fiction, and there probably are people tweeting as they're going down the stairs. But you know what? Being an entrepreneur, being a salesperson, being a business owner, heck, being a parent, sometimes it feels like we're just moving from one burning building to the next, constantly putting out fires, at least trying to, which brings us to the Sales Podcast mantra, which is this: today is my day. I work diligently towards my goals, which are bigger than me. I bite off more than I can chew, because only then will I truly know my current limits, and surpassing them becomes my new goal for today. Through education, accountability partners, and bold, decisive action, today will be better than yesterday, and tomorrow will be better yet. I'm ready to produce. Rick Mulready, thank you for joining the Sales Podcast. How are you?
I'm doing good, Wes. How you doing, man?
I'm good. So you and I, we met, man, it's been a while now. It's been several months. I think it was last summer.
Yeah.
Amy Porterfield, I was doing some work with her and helping her with Fusionsoft, and she was helping me with Facebook. She says, you should come to lunch.
Yep.
And then Amy doesn't tell me that there's multiple locations of the same name, and you were there too. So we meet.
I passed her that information, so that was all my fault.
Oh, it's her fault. No, I like it better when it's her fault.
We can blame
it on Amy.
Okay, we'll blame her.
And so we finally go to lunch. We hang out. I met you. I met Pat Flynn, John Lee Dumas. I met the Sizzle guys. Yeah. But for those that don't know you, would you mind taking a couple seconds, give us a little thumbnail sketch, and we'll dive into it?
Sure. So I have a podcast called Inside Social Media, where I interview the heads of social media from the most successful brands around the world. And we talk about what they're doing well in social media, but always with the angle of what small businesses can take away from what these big brands are doing. How can small businesses model and apply these strategies and principles that are working for the big brands and apply it to their own small business? Right. And then in addition to that, another part of my overall brand and overall business is I teach small businesses and entrepreneurs how to use Facebook advertising to automate revenue generation, leads, and sales for their business. So all kind of wrapped up into one, but that's kind of a snapshot of what my business looks like.
Yeah, I sat in on your webinar last week on
cool.
on the Facebook, because that is something, unfortunately, I've not yet pulled the trigger on, but I'm about to, thanks to your work.
Oh, cool. So,
well,
thank you.
I appreciate that. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about social media. I mean, and this is like so funny. It's like I have this love-hate relationship with social media. It's like I'm
Most
on it.
do.
I've got my pages. I got followers. I don't know. I think I'm doing all right. I got a private group on LinkedIn that I control and get content out there and looking at my traffic. Social media is a big part of my traffic. But I still feel like I'm not doing it right. I don't know.
Well, you just used the word troll. Right? Troll's never a good word when it comes to social media.
What is?
You said you have a group a private group on LinkedIn that you can troll through.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
Troll is never a good word when it comes to
well, yeah, but it's private and it's my group, so I don't know. I know. What word can you use? I don't beat them up. I'm not a tyrant. I don't think nobody. You know what? Excuse me. I'm gonna go check real quick. So, I mean, what are these big guys telling the little guys to do? And is it even practical? Do we need an army? Do we have to be on 17 different platforms and add 3 every day because they're always growing and just pull our hair out?
No, not absolutely not. I mean, it's a matter of focusing on, a one to a few platforms where your audience is, and really focusing on those platforms. You don't feel like you shouldn't feel like you have to be on every single platform out there, because you're right, Wes. It seems like every week there's a new platform coming onto the scene, and that's one of the biggest things that I hear from small business owners is that they're overwhelmed when it comes to social media because of all these platforms out there. They're not really sure where to even start, where should they spend their time. They think they need to be on all these platforms, and then they try to be, and it spreads themselves too thin with everything else they have going on their business, and then those efforts are wasted because they're not really putting in much of an effort in the individual platforms. So it really should be more about which couple of platforms, which maybe 1 to 2, maybe 3 platforms should I really focus my time on, where my audience is, and that aligns with my objective. Like what's my business goal? What am I trying to achieve? And, which platforms align with that? So, really basically making that decision based on those 2 things, where my audience is and then what my business objective is.
So how does somebody figure out where their audience is?
Good question. I have an audio blog version episode coming out on Thursday of this week that answers that question. But I will give you a sneak peek right now.
Nice.
Well, there's a couple different ways you can do it. Obviously, there's the first thing that so many businesses sort of forget about, if you will, and sort of skip over is simply ask your customers. Find out where, what platforms do they use online? Are they using social media? If so, where are they using it? And then how do they use it? Like where does it fit into their overall daily life? So are they on Facebook, and how are they using Facebook? Are they on Twitter? That sort of thing. If you have a physical business where people are actually coming into your business, you can always just ask them. It's such a simple question to ask them, but yet it's so often overlooked. And it gives you a lot of intelligence, a lot of information that you otherwise wouldn't know if you don't ask.
Right.
The other thing that you can do is if you're an online business and you have, if you have that email list, well, ask them, use that email list to ask those people. You don't necessarily have to, use an entire email to pose that question, but you can always put a PS on the end of an email. You can include it like maybe you do a quarterly survey or something like that. Just find out which platforms that they're using. And then from there, you can sort of compile all those platforms and then take a look and say, okay, which ones of these align best with my business objective? And when I mean business objective, I mean, am I all about video, or am I all about imagery? Do I need to be portraying my business from an image perspective? Okay, if so, which platforms align with that? You know what I mean? So you can also, we're talking about the groups that you have, or the private group that you have in LinkedIn. Another strategy that you can do is you can use things like Google Alerts or Mention.net, where you are, keeping track of conversations or mentions around specific topics around the internet that are happening around the internet. So if if you have a specific niche, you can use Google Alerts or Mention.net and filter by keyword and so forth. So whenever that keyword that pertains to your niche or pertains to your industry, or maybe it's a competitor, or maybe it's one of your business products or something like that, you can find out where those things are being mentioned, and you can say, okay, maybe that's a site, or maybe that's a social media platform that I need to be spending some time on because there's conversations going on, around my topic or around my business. Right. The other thing you can do is if you don't want to do either one of those, just start going through each of the platforms. Each of the platforms have search functionalities that you can use. So like Twitter, for example, Twitter has the basic search functionality right at the top of your Twitter screen, where you can type in different topics in there, or people who might be in your industry, and you can start seeing, are there even conversations going on around your niche, around your industry, and if they are, maybe you start monitoring a little bit. Maybe you start watching those conversations a little bit over maybe over a week or so, and from there you'll have a pretty quick idea of whether that is a platform where you maybe need to be spending some time, because you'll be able to see those conversations. If you go onto Google Plus and you start searching on the communities on there, and unlikely, but if you don't see it on there, okay, well maybe Google Plus is not a platform that you need to spend time on. But all these platforms have really good search functionalities where you can search by topic, you can search by industry leaders and so forth, and start to look for those conversations that are going on. And that's a good opportunity for you, number one, to find out if that's a platform that you should be on. And then number two, to start getting some really good information about, hey, what are people talking about? And then you can start to insert yourself into that conversation and be seen as that industry authority of whatever niche that you're in. So a few different ways there.
Right. Well, each one is requires 3 books, 12 courses, and 19 conferences to master, right?
If I can give one tip there as far as each platform goes, is to try to understand how users are using it. So how do people use Facebook? How do people use Twitter? I'm talking the average user. So if you were on social media, how do you use these different platforms? Thinking about it from that perspective, and then you can start to think about, if you're going to be using that platform, you can take that information of, okay, so on Facebook, people are scrolling through their news feed and they're looking to have conversations with their friends. They're looking for images and so forth. So if I'm a business, I want to make sure that I am joining that conversation in a non-obtrusive way, and maybe showing some, cool real life images of maybe behind the scenes of my business, for example.
Right.
That sort of thing. That's what I mean by understanding how users are using the platforms.
All right, so if somebody's just getting started, they're overwhelmed, they're frustrated, they don't know where to start, would you say it's safer to start just by being like a human being, show some pictures
Absolutely.
of family, just whatever interests you, versus trying to be this business guru expert giving these unbelievable words of wisdom every 37 seconds on your Twitter feed?
Yeah, absolutely. And I say that because social media is such a great opportunity to mix in that sort of behind the scenes. It allows you to personalize yourself to people when they can see that sort of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, or what you did over the weekend, or what your hobbies are, or you took this trip or whatever. It gives you that sort of access to, it gives people that access to you and paints a picture of you that they wouldn't normally get of you. And social media allows you to do that. So the more you start to mix in those types of personal, pieces of content and messaging and so forth, along with the business stuff, it's gonna help you more, because people are gonna get to know you as a person, and that's what's gonna start to build that trust with you. And then it's that whole know, like, and trust factor that leads into the eventual sale. So, yeah, I think mixing in the whole personal messaging and the personal types of content, giving that behind the scenes into not only your business but your life, I think that's really, really helpful.
So, what's your advice on mixing business with personal, like on Facebook? I mean, do people have separate profiles? I do recommend having a separate, your personal profile, and then having a business page. But then on the business page, don't be afraid to, like I just mentioned, sort of mix in that, give that personal side of you. If you have, if you're doing something, I don't know, like if you thought was fun that afternoon and you caught an image, took a picture of it or whatever on Instagram, don't be afraid to post that. Like I said, it shows that personal side of you. But, at the same time, you do want to keep thinking about, what is my audience going to like? So my whatever my business is, whatever my niche is, keep the content, still aligned with it, but at the same time, don't be afraid to sort of mix in that personal, more fun stuff too, so that people get to see that personal side of you. But what about letting quote unquote strangers, do you accept their friend request on your personal side, even though really it's more of a business relationship? Yeah,
that's a good question. That's really a personal preference. We all get a lot. I get a lot of those, and some people I don't even know who they are.
Right.
And they're trying to friend me, if you will, on my personal page. And I don't always do it, because it's just like, well, I don't even know this person, and I have no idea what the connection is. So I don't always accept it. You know what I mean? And it's not like ooh, I'm better or anything like that. It's just like, I don't really know that person.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is my personal page. So,
right.
I think it's just a personal preference in making that decision for yourself. Like, look, am I going to accept people that I have no idea who they are on my personal page? And if so, great, go for it, and just accept that, click that accept button. But if that's a decision that you're not ready to do for on your personal page, there's no one telling you that you have to do that.
Right. Yeah, if we have mutual friends, I'll accept them, but I usually don't follow them. Right. I learned that just uncheck that follow button until I see something of interest.
Right.
But I don't mind. And sometimes, honestly, I think women need to be more careful, right? Because you get the stalkers and whatever. But I'm not afraid of that. For my security.
Right.
But I've learned too, man. Social media, be sociable first.
Absolutely.
Right?
You always treat it as a human interaction. I mean, that you're having that in-person conversation with somebody, and that in-person conversation that's the way it should look online as well. When you're using social media to have that conversation with people. I mean, look, social media is always about connecting with people. And so just be human. Just have that conversation with people. You're absolutely right.
So what's the deal with Facebook, man? They, good grief. I thought I had my act together, and then they start changing the rules, right? You got to pay to play now.
As a business, yes.
Good grief. So what's up, man? What can you share with us on your Facebook advertising without giving away the farm? Still make people go buy your stuff.
Well, I mean, here's the deal. I mean, there's over I think the last number I saw was like 1.23 billion people on Facebook. Almost 760 million of which are on Facebook every single day.
When they get to 2 billion, I'll start advertising. How's that?
There you go. Yeah, that's not enough people. 1 billion people isn't enough. And so, I think the average adult has 300. I think the number is 338 friends or fans on Facebook. And so, if you think about that, all those people, there's hundreds of thousands of updates being kicked into the news feed every single minute. Mm-hmm. And so Facebook has to figure out a way of figuring out which of those posts get seen by people, because otherwise you're just scrolling through a bunch of crap on there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And many people are probably listening saying, well, I do that anyway. I scroll through a bunch of crap on there. But Facebook has to figure out some sort of way to sort through all the content so you're seeing the most relevant stuff to you. And and that's the whole, that was the whole, only 16% of my fans see my content. Well, that was the sort of the first iteration of this, if you will.
Right.
And then, the more and more content and the more that Facebook grew, Facebook said, okay, you know what, we really have to figure this out. And so business pages are definitely affected. I mean, that 16% of your fans who were seeing your content is basically cut in half. And I've heard a lot of businesses are even down to that 2 to 6% range of your fans actually seeing your organic posts. And what I mean by organic, meaning like you're not paying for people, or you're not paying for that extra reach of your content. And so that's a really low number, that 2 to 6%. I even saw something, I think it was about a week or so ago, where there was a study done, and this by a social media agency, and people at the social media agency said that based on this study and based on what Facebook has come out and said, because you're right, Wes, Facebook has basically come out and said that if you are a business, you're basically going to have to pay to play. You're going to have to pay for people to see your content on there. And what came out of this study was that they were sort of saying that the writing on the wall is that Facebook is going to take that 2 to 6% of what it is now down to essentially zero, so that if you want people to see your content, you're going to have to pay for it. Do I agree with that all the way down to zero part? Not necessarily, but let's face it. If you are a business now, you do have to pay in some fashion if you really want to take advantage of those 1.2 billion people that are on Facebook and all the targeting opportunities that we have with Facebook, because all the data that is part of your profiles, Facebook does make that available, they have all this in the background in their databases and so forth, that as advertisers, we're able to use that data to target our Facebook ads. And so what that means for us is that we're able to really laser target our ads. We can get ads in front of our exact target audience. And they've also come out with different ways over the past few months, and actually more recently within the past month, where we can do things like, if we have our email list, for example, we can upload that email list into Facebook. And Facebook will look at let's just say you upload 5,000 email addresses. Facebook will look to match as many of those 5,000 email addresses as to the email addresses that it has in its database. And so let's just say the result is 2,500 email addresses. Well, that becomes what they call a custom audience that you can target Facebook ads to. So essentially, you're targeting your Facebook ads to people who are on your email list. And I just got this question from somebody actually who's in the program yesterday. He was saying, well, what's the benefit of that? Well, it's an additional touch point. So you should be emailing them, your normal email marketing. But by doing it this way with your Facebook ads, it gives you another touch point with them so that when they're on Facebook, you can also advertise to them. And those ads are very likely to convert for you depending on what you're offering. They're very likely to convert for you because they're already familiar with you and your brand because they're already on your email list.
Right.
They also came out with, and for some people it's still rolling out, but they also came out with something called website custom audience. So where you can place a pixel on your website and you can start tracking the people who come to your website, and Facebook will create an audience of all those people who are coming to your website. It's a form of retargeting or remarketing, and you can create an audience out of those people, and then you can show ads to them on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And again, that's a very targeted audience because they are coming to your website already. And like I said, this is a brand new feature that I received it. I think I got access to it. Facebook rolls these features out, so I know a lot of people who don't have this feature yet. I've had it for about a month or so now, but it's just another opportunity for us that Facebook has created to advertise on there and get really laser targeted with the targeting opportunities on there. But yeah, it's definitely frustrating as far as the reach going down. I mean, I hear that every single day. It is a frustration for people. A lot of people don't want to spend the money to advertise on there for a few reasons. Number one, people automatically think, well, I'm going to lose my money on there because I don't necessarily know what I'm doing when it comes to Facebook advertising. And one of the other big myths is that people think they have to spend a lot of money to be successful on there. Well, I know people who are really successful on Facebook with just spending $5 to $10 a day. And I know people who are spending $1,000 a day, and you can be successful obviously at different levels, but you can still be successful with that lower budget. So you don't have to be spending a lot.
So I mean, do people just have to jump in and bite the bullet because there's no guarantee on, okay, so I'm in Facebook ads, woohoo. Do I put a picture of myself? Do I put a picture of a sexy woman? Do I use Courier New font? Do I use Verdana? Do I use bold or red or purple or blue? And do I put an outline in red or green or blue around that box? And do I take them to a Facebook tab on my page, or do I link out to my own site?
Right.
I mean, it's more than just, I budgeted $10 a day for an ad, right? I mean, there's all these things, but do they just have to jump in?
You do have to jump in, but it's also, with that said, like you just mentioned, Wes, and as you were talking there, I'm thinking these are all things that were big like 2 years ago when it came to Facebook ads, like red border and everything like that.
Right.
That was
They're still out there though.
They definitely are. They definitely are. But yeah, you should have an understanding of just as you jump into it, do have a basic understanding of what you can and can't do. Or what you shouldn't be doing as you set things up. And you control the budget. You want to spend X amount of dollars per day. If you want to spend $20 for today, you control that. You put that number in, and Facebook won't spend more than that number. So you really control the budget. It's just a matter of being a little bit educated in that. And, once you get into it and once you sort of learn the nuances of it, and it's not that difficult once you get the hang of it. Of course, like anything, there's a learning curve. But yeah, once you jump into it and start learning it, that's when it can get very powerful for your business. And that's when you can start. That's what I teach in this course I teach this Facebook ad system where you can automate leads and sales for your business, so that it's just churning for your business, and you don't have to work on it a whole lot. And that sounds like the holy grail, and it sounds all fluffy and everything, but that's a reality. I mean, that's what ads can really do for you when you have it dialed in, when you're using a specific strategy for them, and you can really dial in that, look, I'm bringing leads into my business, and then I'm converting them into sales. And it just keeps going and going and going. I'm literally spinning my arm right now. It just keeps going. It keeps going and going and going. So
okay, everybody right now wave over their head. Now, is it
exactly.
kind of like a lasso over the head, or is it kind of on the side?
No, this was actually just like rolling my arm, like this is going and going and going.
So is this just for the internet marketing dudes that are home alone, unshaven, in their pajamas, bare feet, Monster Energy drink and maybe a doobie on the other side? Or is this like brick and mortar, people with children and mortgages, can they also make money on this kind of stuff?
It's a great question. And since you were on last week's workshop, I need to do a better job of relaying that it's not just the internet marketer, it's not just the consultant, it's not just the coach that can be really successful with Facebook ads. It's I had people on there who had wine businesses or local florists and so forth. Facebook ads can be very, very successful for these businesses. It's just a matter of figuring out what your offer is. Like, what are you trying to do? What's your business objective? Obviously, if you're a florist, your objective is to increase sales. And if you're a local florist, you're not like delivering across the country, for example. Well, you can use Facebook ads to locally target your ads. You can geographically target your ads to a specific radius around where your florist is, whether it's a specific town or zip codes or a city, that sort of thing. And then you can start to advertise different deals that you have going on, or running specials, or Mother's Day is coming. That sort of thing. You can get really, really creative with it and start to target your ads that way, and that works for. Heck, that works for bike shops. That it doesn't matter that you're necessarily online. You have an online business, and you're that guy that you just described. I mean, you can have these brick and mortar businesses as well, and have a lot of success from Facebook ads.
So obviously, you have a program around Facebook. So is that where you're spending most of your time, or are you pretty good at the others like Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn?
So spending my time as far as the product.
Yeah, I mean, how are you marketing your business? Are you just sticking with Facebook for now, since that's your product, or do you have your fingers in the other big platforms?
Well, I'm across all those other platforms, but from where I spend most of my time, and the two platforms I spend are Twitter and Facebook. From a leads and sales sort of thing, definitely with Facebook advertising. And then, of course, I spend a lot of time on my podcast as well. So that's sort of like the baseline platform where we have that sort of general social media conversation, although a lot of conversations recently over the past few months have really turned to Facebook and, what it's meant for these brands and are they going to pay to play and this sort of thing. But yeah, from a leads and sales generation, definitely with Facebook advertising, and then also, from a day-to-day sort of social media, I spend my time on Twitter and Facebook, and then I have, like I said, the podcast.
Right. Do you have any opinions on Google Plus?
Yes, I like Google Plus a lot, and I am on there, and I don't spend as much time on there as I do with the other ones, just simply because I'm no different than every other business owner out there, where I'm trying to spend my time, as best as possible on. I don't want to say the right platforms, because Google Plus is definitely a platform that you should be on. So I am on there. I'm not on there as much as I'd like to be. But I do recommend for businesses to be on Google Plus for the sole reason, for no other reason. If they're like, oh God, I don't want to be on another platform. Be on Google Plus for the SEO benefits, for the search engine optimization benefits, because Google pulls in the information that's on Google Plus into their search rankings. And so the more content that you're putting on Google Plus, that's going to help you in the organic search results. When someone types in something into Google, that's going to help you. If you have that type of content on Google Plus, that's going to play into the ranking results. So if for no other reason, if you're like, oh, I just don't want to be on another platform, be on Google Plus, post content on there that's relevant to your industry and that's helpful to people for the SEO benefits.
So how do you post, or how do you recommend people post? Do you use an aggregator like a Hootsuite, Sprout Social, things like that, and push all at once, or do you customize your content for each media?
Yeah, the key there is that customization, because as much as those the Hootsuites of the world, I love Hootsuite, I use it myself, but I don't post to multiple platforms from it. And the reason for that is because each one of these platforms has a different nuance to it, if you will. It has a different voice. And so, that person who's going through the Facebook news feed is going to go through Twitter a little bit differently. They're looking for different things, where you have all these images and graphics and so forth on Facebook, where you don't have, yes, Twitter does have images now, but you have more, contextual updates on Twitter. So you have to make sure that the post that whatever content that you're putting out there is, nuanced, if you will, to that individual platform. So as much of a time saver as it is to post to all these platforms at the same time, you're going to be better served just customizing each of your pieces of content to the individual platform that you're posting on.
Gotcha. Man, so many ways to go. So, I had Jay Bear on a while back, and he said until you get good at email marketing, he said you don't belong on social media. Kind of a bold statement, being an Infusionsoft guy. I was kind of happy to hear that. What do you think about that?
Well, I disagree in a sense of that you shouldn't be on social media if you haven't mastered email marketing. But because I just think the opportunity to network with people and to expand your reach and help other people and connect with all kinds of different people who are within your target audience is too great to ignore when it comes to social media. With that said, I will say that from a sales perspective, email marketing is still the number one way to do that. So I would be combining both. Like I said, if you're driving traffic through social media back to your website, you're building your email list that way. If you are moving your Facebook fans over to your email list, converting them into leads, doing it that way, and then it goes into email marketing, I would be using both together. But just to completely ignore social media, I think you'd be doing your business a great disservice. It's just too good of an opportunity, too big of an opportunity to pass up. So yes, email marketing, absolutely, it's so important. And still my number one way as far from a marketing perspective, because even though I'm doing Facebook advertising, I'm getting them to become leads, and that's where I'm developing that relationship with them. So I would be using them both in conjunction with each other.
Yeah, but I guess brick and mortar stores could run ads. Do you recommend it? Like they run an ad just to drive them to your homepage or to a special you're having at the store or a restaurant? Or, or are you trying to get them to opt in somewhere?
Well, it really, again, it comes down to what is their business objective? Like, what are they trying to do? What do they have to offer somebody? It is more difficult to sell outright on Facebook because, again, you have to think about this comes back to how people are using the platform. Unlike Google, where someone's, actually searching on a specific topic or a specific product, and if you show them, a Google AdWords and you have the ad right there, that's a different state of mind. Whereas someone's on Facebook and they're there to interact with their friends and they're, to see updates that are going on. If they have become a fan of a business, they want to hear what the specials, that sort of thing. They're on there for a different reason. So if you are a business and you're advertising to them, it's because you're catching them in that mindset. It's often better to get them into to opt into an email list and then develop that relationship with them over that email marketing like we were just talking about. And that's where the sale comes from, because that's how you build that relationship with them. Look, I'm going to give you a personal example of where I did this webinar that we talked about last week, where I ran Facebook ads to get people to register for it, where, I spend an hour and a half with everybody on the live workshop. Well, then I get to develop a relationship with them even more so with, follow-up emails and so forth. Mm-hmm. And so it's the same sort of thing if you are a we're talking about brick and mortar. It really comes down to what your business objective is, and then what do you have to offer people? Maybe it is just a case of, look, I have a Mother's Day special coming up. I'm running a special where it's, 50% off something. Well, you can run an ad that has that. And the other thing too is that you want to make sure that you're tracking things so that you are able to say, okay, I spent $50 and I got $100 in return. So you want to make sure that you're tracking your efforts there with your advertising. If that's the case, that if that's the road that you're going down, you want to make sure that you're tracking that so hey, you know what, this is paying off for me, or you know what, excuse me, I tried this a few times and it didn't really work out. Maybe next time I have to try some different things or whatever it may be.
Right. Are you mixing other forms of media? Are you doing any type of direct mail in any of your marketing?
I am not. I am doing social media and email marketing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you seeing any improvement or dip in the effectiveness of email marketing?
No, not at all.
No, it's still
I'm having very good results with it.
Yeah, cool. Just wondering what you're seeing because it's still working for me.
Oh yeah.
All right, man. Well, you've got a call coming up. I've got a call coming up. But where can people find you?
My online home is rickmulready.com. It's rickmulready.com. It's the advertising course, the Facebook advertising course we've been talking about is called the FB Advantage, and people can reach that at rickmulready.com/advantage. And the podcast that we were talking about is called Inside Social Media, and that's on iTunes and Stitcher, and wherever you can find a podcast, you will find Inside Social Media there.
Very nice. All right, so let me ask you something. What book is on your desk or on your Kindle, either that you're reading right now or that you always go back to?
I've read this probably a couple times, and it's like 500 pages, so I like to reference it, keep going back to it, but it's called The Success Principles.
Okay. By
Jack Canfield, the co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series.
Right.
But The Success Principles, it's a big old thick book. It's just great you don't have to read it from cover to cover, but you can just kind of jump around. And it's really, the chapters are short, really good topics that you can kind of go back and reference every now and then. I love it.
I've got 2 books at home, and one of them's not even colored in, man. So,
Oh, really?
I might have to go get this one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Very nice, man. We've got to schedule another lunch soon.
Absolutely.
It's getting warm again, and now you're married, so now
yes.
You can bring, instead of your fiance, bring your wife.
Bring my wife. Yep, Amy. Yep.
Actually, we're having a baby next month, so I think everybody should throw a baby shower. Everybody at that lunch should throw a baby shower and come up to Temecula and bring me some wine.
That's right, too. Congratulations, man. I forgot about that. Congrats. That's awesome.
Woo! Craziness.
Awesome.
All right, man. Well, thanks for taking the time and sharing your wisdom.
Absolutely. Thanks, Wes. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Talk to you soon. 1.23 billion people on Facebook, 760 million on them every day. And Facebook is wising up. And like Rick said, you have to pay to play. If you want to reach your audiences from your fan pages, you're going to have to spend some money. But check out that custom audience, being able to upload email addresses. Right? So you could buy a list, upload that list, send ads just to those people. They could then opt in right there on Facebook. I use Infusionsoft and Grow Social. Those are tied in to my CRM, which then goes to my autoresponder. So you could run your ads, put the tab right there on Facebook. People never leave. They opt in. They go into your social media through your social media account into your autoresponder, which Jay Baer had mentioned. He's the author of Utility and ConvinceAndConvert.com, big social media guy as well, and speaker and consultant. He'd said, if you are not good at email marketing, you have no business messing around with social media marketing. And Rick even said that in here as well. It's harder to sell outright on Facebook, all right? But those are great tools for engaging, for maintaining that relationship, maybe making upsells and continued sales and securing referrals and testimonials, okay? So look into social media, look into these custom audiences. But if you really want to do it like a pro, check out Infusionsoft. All right. That's what I use. Visit thesaleswhisperer.com. You can opt in for a free trial, and we can set a time to speak, and I'll do a demo with you, ask you some hard questions to see if it is really right for you. And if it is, we'll help you get started. It's what I've used since 2008 to automate every aspect of my business. As always, I thank you for listening, for the show notes, and for all the links that we discussed from this session. Visit thesaleswhisperer.com/session 53. You can get more info on Rick and how to connect with him there. So thanks for listening, and remember to sell different.